Before listen, lock your door.
Subscribe for daily horror story.
First story.
My uncle used to warn me, if the fog hangs low in these mountains, stay inside. And no matter how human it sounds, don't answer the knocking. Back then, I thought it was just one of those eerie stories old folks tell to spook kids around. A fire. A way to keep us from wandering too far into the woods. I believed that until last fall, when something massive walked past the cabin I was staying in. I'd rented a small hunting cabin near Black Ridge, deep in the western North Carolina side of the Appalachians. It was the kind of place you go to get lost. No cell service, no paved roads, no neighbors for miles. Just a sagging roof, a wood-burning stove, and the thick silence of pine forest pressing against the windows. I'd planned to stay there 3 weeks. Just me, my laptop, some food supplies, and the quiet. I wanted to hike, right, and get away from the chaos of the city. The first few days went exactly as planned. I spent my mornings wandering the trails near the ridge, and my evenings, wrapped in blankets, reading by firelight. No distractions, no stress, just peace. But everything changed on the 5th night. Around 7 p.m., a fog rolled in thick and sudden. One moment the forest was dim with dusk, and the next, it had vanished behind a curtain of pale gray. It wasn't just heavy, it was suffocating. It muffled sound, swallowed the trees whole. I couldn't see 10 feet out the window. Even the birds went quiet. The air felt wrong, like something ancient had stepped into the woods and everything else had gone still in fear. At midnight, I heard it. Not a coyote, not deer or bear, something much bigger. The sound came from beyond the cabin wall. Slow, deliberate footsteps, crunching through the underbrush. Not galloping, not creeping, walking heavily. Like whatever it was, didn't care who heard it. I turned off the lights and pressed myself close to the window, trying to see through the fog. My heart was pounding. The footsteps moved along the side of the cabin, then stopped, just below the window where I stood. A long silence followed. Then a knock, not on the glass, on the wooden frame itself. One sharp, deliberate tap, as if whatever stood outside knew exactly where I was. I dropped to the floor and stayed there, frozen. The silence returned, thick and unnatural. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even blink. When dawn came, the fog was still thick, clinging low to the forest floor. I forced myself outside. The air was wet and heavy, and that wrongness still lingered. But what truly made my skin crawl were the prints I found just beneath the window. They were massive, bare human-like feet, but impossibly wide and long. Each step sunk deep into the damp earth. No claws, no paw, pads, just long, flat feet like a man's, but not a man's. I followed the trail for about half a mile before it stopped at the base of a rock face, as if the thing had vanished straight into the stone. But the smell stayed with me, something sickly, like rotting moss mixed with wet fur and burnt copper. Not decay exactly, something older, hungrier. That night, I boarded up every window I could with old planks I found in the shed. I kept the fire burning, flashlight in hand, axe beside the door. The fog didn't lift. If anything, it thickened. It swallowed the cabin whole. At exactly 2:14 a.m., it screamed. The sound was unlike anything I've ever heard. A shriek so loud it shook the floorboards and echoed across the ridge like a train wreck in slow motion. It was human and not human, at the same time, like a man being torn apart, but with something ancient beneath the agony, something gleeful. Then came the footsteps again. This time, they circled the cabin, slowly, one step, pause, another step, and then they stopped at the front door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. And then it spoke. Not aloud, not in any human voice. The words crawled into my head like worms. Low, distorted, vibrating just behind my eyes. Come out. A pause. Come out. It said it over and over, soft and playful, like it was coaxing a child into a game. I stayed locked in that position until the sky turned pale at sunrise. The fog began to lift. Everything felt lighter, but colder, too, like the air had been scraped clean. And that's when I saw it. Just beyond the clearing, near the tree line, tall, hunched, covered in shaggy dark hair, long arms swaying, and its eyes too, burning red dots that locked onto mine for a second too long. It turned, stepped back into the trees, and was gone. I packed my gear within the hour and left that cabin without looking back. But even now, months later, I still hear it sometimes. Late at night, just as I'm about to fall asleep, a voice whispers from behind the walls of my skull, "Come out." Soft, curious, waiting. So if you ever find yourself alone in a cabin deep in the Appalachians, and the fog starts creeping in, don't answer the knock, because whatever walks in the fog already knows you're there, and next time, it might not ask so nicely.
Second story.
My grandfather used to tell me, if the birds ever stop singing in the woods, leave, right then. Because if the forest goes quiet, something's watching, and not everything out there walks on two legs, for the same reason we do. I used to think he was just trying to scare me, until the weekend we camped out near Old Saddle Ridge. It was supposed to be a reunion, me, my cousin Eli, and our friend Mason. We hadn't seen each other in over a year, and Eli thought it'd be cool to go deep into the Monongahela National Forest, off any official trail. He'd found this old, abandoned fire road on a topo map, one that led to a ridge with a panoramic view of the whole valley below. No people, no distractions, just us and the trees, he said. The first couple of days were exactly what we wanted, peaceful. We hiked in maybe 8 miles, set up camp near a small stream, built a fire ring, and just relaxed. No cell signal, no other hikers, no sound of civilization, just the endless green stretch of forest in every direction. Nights were filled with laughter, beers, dumb ghost stories, and the comfort of being far away from the world. Then came the third night. It started small, the kind of thing you barely notice until it's already too late. The wind died, and the forest just stopped. No crickets, no frogs, no rustling branches. Even the stream sounded like it was holding its breath. It was like the entire world had gone on pause. Our fire popped and hissed, but everything else was dead still. That's when Mason, who had been staring off toward the trees, said under his breath, "Do you guys see that?" We followed his gaze, up toward the ridgeline, maybe 50 yards off. Something was standing just outside the firelight, not moving, not even swaying. It was tall, too tall for a man, but it stood on 2 legs, its body partially hidden behind the trunks, massive shoulders, long arms, thick legs planted wide. It looked like it had just stopped, mid-step, and it wasn't trying to hide more, like it was choosing exactly how much of itself to show us. Eli whispered, "It's watching us." I wanted to say it was just our eyes playing tricks in the firelight, but it wasn't. We called out, "Number," response. Just that hulking figure, motionless in the dark. Then, without a sound, it turned and walked off smooth, silent, like it knew exactly where every branch and root was. No snap, no shuffle, just gone. We tried to laugh it off. Probably an elk, I said unconvincingly. But Mason had already slid a knife from his pack. Eli didn't sleep that night. I don't think he even blinked the next morning. We found footprints around our tents. Bare footprints. They were massive, at least 18 inches long, maybe more. 5 toes wide across the front, with a strange arch in the middle. Not flat, not clawed like a human print, but distorted, stretched. There were no shoe treads. Just bare, heavy impressions, circling our camp. That should have been it. That should have been the moment we packed up and hiked out. But we didn't. We stayed one more night. That decision still keeps me up some nights. It was well past midnight when we first heard it. A knocking sound like two pieces of wood being slammed together, sharp, echoing once, then again, closer, then again, from a different direction. 3 knocks, from 3 sides, all spaced evenly apart, like points of a triangle, like we were being boxed in. Then came the screaming. I don't have the words for it. It wasn't human, it wasn't animal, it was low and thunderous, but also ragged-like. A roar laced with pain and fury, as if something huge was being torn apart and wanted the forest to know. It didn't echo. It pressed down on us. Eli jumped up, flashlight in hand, and swept the beam across the trees. That's when we saw them. Eyes, 2 glowing orbs, high off the ground, far too far apart for a person. They stared straight into us, unblinking, unafraid. Then they blinked and disappeared. We didn't sleep that night. No one did. We sat back to back, knives out, fire stacked high, jumping at every rustle and crack. Nothing attacked us. But in the morning, we saw what it left behind. Every tree around our site, every single one, had claw marks, deep gouges, some so high. Up they had to be 10 feet off the ground. 3 parallel scratches, carved deep into the bark, circling us like a message, or a warning. We packed in silence. The hike out was the longest 5 miles of my life, because we weren't alone. Not really. We never saw it again, but we felt it. There were footsteps that didn't match ours. Heavy crunches, keeping pace just out of view. Branches snapped in the canopy above, something massive moving overhead. Every time we stopped, we heard the breathing deep, slow, wet. Always behind the trees. Never visible. Always present. Mason didn't speak the entire way back. Hasn't spoken about it since. A month later, Eli moved to Arizona. He refuses to go near forests now. And me. I've never been back to Old Saddle Ridge. Hell, I don't even go hiking anymore, unless there are crowds, maps, and exit signs every 100 yards. Because whatever's up there doesn't fear humans. It studies them. It remembers. Next time, the forest goes quiet. Don't freeze. Don't wait. Leave. Now, because something is watching you on. It already knows you don't belong.
Third story.
My uncle once told me, if you ever see fog roll in fast over the trees, leave. Don't ask questions. Don't wait. Just leave. I laughed it off when I was younger, but that was before Elkhorn Lake. Back in October of 2022, I joined a wildlife research team tracking black bears in a remote part of the Appalachians. It was part of a conservation study, and I signed up mostly for the adventure. There were 4 of us, me, Dr. Anaya, the lead biologist, her assistant Caleb, and a local guide named Reese, who knew the land better than any GPS ever could. We hiked about 12 miles from the last ranger post. No cell service, no other people, just thick forest, steep ridges, and a scattering of old, unused logging trails. We set up base near Elkhorn Lake, a still, black body of water, surrounded by nothing but trees and cliffs. The air there always felt too quiet. Our first 2 days were normal. We set up trail cams, logged scat samples, and tracked animal paths. The cameras picked up raccoons, a couple of deer, even a glimpse of a bobcat. But then we started getting ... anomalies. Something was setting off the cameras, something tall, upright, but always blurry, like it was moving just as the lens triggered. One frame showed a shoulder, but it was too high for a human and far too wide. Caleb joked it was Bigfoot out for a jog. We laughed. Kind of. Then came the footprints. 14 inches long, 5 toes, no shoe tread. Found near the stream north of our tents. We checked the trail cam closest to it. Nothing, except ... One frame, just one, was pitch black with 2 white dots, like eyes reflecting the IR flash. That night, the forest went still. No wind, no bugs, no sound. Even the fires seemed to burn quieter. I sat awake until nearly 2 a.m., staring into the trees, feeling watched, and then the fog came. It didn't drift in gently. It rolled fast, like a tide washing over the land. Within minutes, we couldn't see 10 feet beyond our camp. That's when the knocking started. At first we thought it was branches, but the rhythm was too even. 2 knocks, pause, 3 knocks, long pause, then 1 loud, heavy thud. It sounded like someone or something was hitting the trees with a log, or maybe its fist. Reese stood up, flashlight in hand. "That's not wind," he whispered. "Get inside the tents, now." We heard a branch snap high up, maybe 8 or 10 feet off the ground. The fog moved. I swear it moved with purpose, like something was using it as cover. The knocking circled our camp. So did the breathing. Heavy, wet, like lungs too big to belong to anything normal. Sometime after 3 a.m., it stopped. We didn't sleep. In the morning, the fog was gone like it had never been there. But something had walked around us. We found deep footprints in the moss, circling the tents. We checked every trail cam. All were smashed, not stolen, just crushed. Bent metal and cracked lenses. Dr. Anaya called off the expedition. We packed fast. Reese wanted to take a shortcut back an old logging road that hadn't been maintained in years. It was overgrown, steep, but faster. The rest of us agreed. We hiked fast, barely talking. Around 2 p.m., the fog came back, just like before, fast and full. 1 second the trees were clear, the next, everything was white and wet. Then we heard the scream. Not a bear, not a mountain lion, not anything we knew. It was deep and sharp, like metal tearing through flesh, but alive. I felt it in my ribs. We ran. Branches whipped at our faces. We lost the trail. The fog got thicker. Caleb tripped, sprained his ankle. We had to carry him. Then Reese shouted, "Don't look at it, just run." I turned anyway. There, in the fog, between 2 trees it stood, at least 8 feet tall, covered in dark matted hair, but not like an animal. Its arms were too long, its legs were bent wrong, and its eyes not glowing, not monstrous, just cold. Human, but not. It didn't chase, it didn't roar, it just ... watched ... We made it to a ranger station by nightfall. The rangers didn't laugh at our story. One of them, older guy named Harris, just nodded and said, "You went near Elkhorn. Yeah, don't go back there." That was it. Dr. and I never published anything from the trip. The data disappeared. Caleb still walks with a limp. Reese, he left Virginia entirely. Moved to Kansas. Refuses to talk about the woods. As for me, I haven't camped since. I moved back to the city. Sometimes, when it rains, I get this scent, wet pine and moss, and I feel it watching again. Whatever we saw, it wasn't an undiscovered animal. It was something old, something that knew those woods long before we did. It used the fog. It wanted us to feel afraid. And it's still out there, waiting. Next time you see fog roll in faster than it should, don't stand and stare, because something might be staring back.